Good morning, everyone. Let's go ahead and take a deep breath. Sending love and blessings out to everybody. I was just doing a meditation for you guys to see if anything new came up. And as soon as I came out of it, I was getting, and I went into a dream. So that was the message when I came out of it. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that now. So I'm going to show you the pictures of the reads first, and then I'm going to tell you about my meditation. Then we're going to get right into the reads. Today is May 7th, 2021. And so here is the union read. And this is the 4D on the bottom, the 5D in the middle, the 6D on the top. The left is the divine feminine, the right is the divine masculine, the middle is the bridge between them. The incoming divine feminine, the outgoing divine masculine, the underlying energies, and the closing energies over here. And this is the SIRIAN Starseed deck for both there. This is the main read for the divine feminine, divine masculine, twin flames. And then the read in front of you, which is the 7-deck clarification read for the twin flames and my channeled messages. Okay. So, in order to explain my meditation this morning, I have to tell you a little bit about last night. So, first, let's see when I started that. Whoops. I'm on the wrong page. Hold on one second. My book's getting all messed up. Okay, so anyway, I watched the movie Hachi last night, which I'd watched before. But I was being guided to do a little meditation with my twin last night about 8:30. And I was first getting an elephant and an old man, like a shaman old man. I'm not sure who the old man was. Early on in I was learning meditation in my 20s, I connected with one of my guides, Mitos, and I always remembered it from my toes, which definitely corresponds. But I was feeling like that energy was coming in here. And the elephant, I get that connection with my twin as well. So the elephant was very decorated, like an Indian or African elephant, who would have the headdress on, that kind of thing. With this shamanistic old man, I was definitely getting the Aborigine energy. And then I saw a young woman who was very fair, like me, and light eyes, and she had a white headband on, and I couldn't tell if she was wearing like a white headband or if this was like a nun type energy, because I was just seeing her face, and she had big blue eyes or blue-green eyes, whatever that was. And I wasn't sure who she was, but it was a big contrast to the energies that had just come in with the Aborigines, because this was very modern European type of energy background. But the energy was getting very scattered, and I was seeing a few other women come in, and all very nice energies. And then I was getting lots of red, like I would see my imprint comes up as this very bold red. Not red. It's the hardest red in the world to describe, because red's not a color I normally resonate with, because it's a little bit harsh for my coloring. I usually have to wear like a bright racer red if I'm going to wear red, because the other reds tend to, not look good with my skin tone and my coloring. But this coloring of my imprint, of my mandala is, it's not quite red orange or red pink. It's kind of like right in between there, but this bright, beautiful energy. But that same color came up during this meditation. And then I was getting twin brothers coming up. And then just now when I was doing a meditation, a friend of mine who is a twin boy and girl were coming up as well. So after that, and I'm letting you know that because that went into the energies of this morning. And then I was listening to something on YouTube, and as soon as that person on YouTube said reflection, I looked up at the clock, and it was my twin's birthday. And then there was the energy of how do you know if you have dreams, that kind of thing. If you're dreaming, how do you know if it's your dream or quote unquote reflection or an actual manipulation? It's not actually you at all. So the reflection was coming up as my twin, as the time came up right there, right as they said the word reflection. And then I went into my meditation for my video, and I went to my little girl, and she saw me today and just laid back on a bed beneath me, just like we were on bunk beds, and she was on the lower bunk and I was on the higher bunk, just like we were hanging out. And she was very relaxed, and I asked where the masculine was. And again, that question of are you focused on you or are you focused on your other? And the question was, well, why aren't we focused on both our masculine and feminine? Because we are both the masculine and feminine within us. So they took me to that energy of when old relationships you may have been in that obviously didn't work out for certain reasons, whether it was abuse, neglect, or just, totally different people, whatever it was in your relationships, that energy was coming up. And the energy of not being ready yet, right? Do you want to be with someone who's not going to resonate with you? So then the Lincoln Memorial came up, and it turned into a chalet that gave me very much the energy of Courmayeur, which is in the Alps. It's the Italian Alps, right where the Swiss and French Alps all come together. And that reminded me of my first marriage with my abusive ex. And the energy came back of that shaman old man that I first saw. And it took me to the energies of that relationship was a very abusive relationship. And the lesson of coming together with Hachi, the movie last night, where the dog, after their master passes away, they keep coming back to the same place at the train station, waiting for them to come home every day, because there was so much love there. And that energy of loyalty and spirit's connecting with me right now. The lesson of reacting with love as opposed to anger, fear, sadness, or in other words, the breaking in of the horse, right? With the horse, you don't lose your temper with them every time they don't do what you tell them to do. You try it one day. If it doesn't happen, or if they don't come to you the first day because they're still wild and they're running around, they don't trust you. You keep being patient with them. You keep coming back day after day until they do trust you, until they do come towards you. You allow them to come toward you. So it's that breaking in of the horse energy and not reacting to their not coming toward you or being mean to you, right? Because a wild horse may hurt you. Not reacting to that, but keep coming back day after day and being love as they slowly but surely come toward you in that peaceful and loving heart. So in the movie, is the dog a slave to their master? Or are they their loyal best friend, choosing to be love every day, love and loyalty the one who only ever showed them love, patience, and faith in them. Okay, so however that affects you, that energy was coming up here of loyalty and what it is to be loyalty. And remember to be loyal to yourself. You can only be truly loyal to yourself, which is why it's so important to be loyal to yourself first. Because you can't be loyal to someone else if it becomes a lie to you to give that loyalty to someone else, right? And so you always have to be loyal to yourself first. It's like that energy of, are you willing to lie in court for somebody else that you love? Well, you shouldn't be, because that's a lie. It's not helping either one of you. It's then going to create negative timelines for both of you. So again, and it's seeing that before you allow it to play out, to always be in your truth, be present, and be loyal to yourself first. And that means being in your truth no matter what, even if it hurts someone else's feelings. Let's say it's a sibling or someone or a partner who wants you to lie in court for them. Are you going to lie in court for them because you love them? or because they're going to leave you if you don't lie for them. And if they're asking you to lie for them, do they actually love you? Are they loving you? So all of that kind of energy is coming up here. So now we're going to get into the reads. I'm going to roll the die first. And the union read came up I've been loving doing these union reads because they bring up really cool channeled messages for me. And this was no different today. And actually the division of the cell came up today and showing us how the division of the cell is exactly the same as a relationship splitting up. So this was very cool. So first we're going to roll the die for the twin flame read today. All right, we have the sun, okay, which is showing us like the center point, right? That's like 0 point within the human embodiment of source, the sun. We have the Gemini energy, which is of the twins, and also that very mercurial energy. And there's very much twins with the twin brothers coming up, and then the friend of mine with the boy and girl twins and the relationship between the two of them. And the relationship from those two, the boy and girl, is very much of the girl being very motherly and the boy being very sweet and loving toward them. Like it's just that unconditional lovingness, between two twin siblings. But it's lovely to see that energy between a boy and a girl because the mother's very motherly and the brother's very protective and yet so innocent at the same time, allowing her to mother him. So we have the two here of the twins as well, and the two of the high priestess and the divine feminine energy, the one-on-one energy, the mediative energy, the sun and the Gemini twin energy, and that's also of the lovers, also of the magician. Okay, so today's the 7th, and this read was done yesterday. First was the union read at 117, which is the magician and the 17 of the star. Oh, and by the way, after Hachi, even though it was the second time I watched it, I cried my butt off after Hachi. It was definitely a purge because you feel like you're Hachi, waiting day after day in love for, your best friend to return to the station. It was very interesting. So we have the 117 of the magician and the star. And then right away for the union read, again, the 4D, 5D, 6D read, sealed with a kiss was the theme of this read. We had alchemy in the underlying energy, the 7 of pentacles in the middle, which is the divine feminine's heart in the E tower, and then the Knight of Cups as the final card of the read. In the pit of alchemy and alchemy, so there may be someone who has alcohol issues, and obviously that's always going to be at play in everyone's life because it's very common to have alcohol in people's lives. We have the peach pit, the pit of the stomach, the fire pit, the alcohol on fire, right? Because alcohol is going to make the fire expand. The divine feminine's heart in the E tower at the center, and there the sun. I just brought up that energy of the sun with the circle of human embodiment of source with the dot in the middle, the 0 point. The divine feminine's heart in the E tower at the center. The divine masculine outside trying to figure out how to get in. Both reaping rewards of fitting puzzle pieces together as the Knight of Cups is swimming freestyle in the green room, in blue water or stream, to infinity and beyond, going nowhere fast at 0 point. It's like, swimming in the same place, right? Or paddling in the same place, not going anywhere, because you're at 0 point. You don't need to go anywhere. So we have allow, and then allowance came up, and they guided me to break the word down. So allow is all ants, whether that's your aunt in a relative or ant as in the bug, the ant. All ants, or all to use, and your antsy. A double L, like in Elohim, a double L at 0 point, double U on the other side, twin bridges and chakra pillars, and 2 holy grails, a JC event, or sealed with a kiss, or a kissing event. X's and oh my's, kisses and hugs, or tic-tac-toe, 2 dancing fools, or crazy 8s, At 0 point here at play, and here just came up 2 dancing fools and crazy eights, which is the 28 of the twin flames, at 0 point. And then they guided me to draw an X, but the X with 2 eights, which is the 2 crazy eights dancing, right? Each turned an eighth of a turn towards each other, creating the X and dancing together. The 4-pronged propeller, which that X creates, or the sealing fan, propelling her to seal the chakra system with Jesus God fan, or nanogram fan, or nitrogen fan, or nitrogen generator fan, or gadolinium, all of those things coming up of masculines who may be fans of those types of things. And then the nano generator RAM came up, which nano RAM is actually a proprietary computer memory technology for Nantero, Nantero, a non-volatile random access memory based on position of carbon nanotubes deposited on a chip like substrate. And it allows for very high density memories. And we talk about, as we go through ascension, we lose our memories, we start forgetting a lot. So that was very interesting that was coming up. Using continuous kinetic energy with low amount of energy. The alchemy of the divine feminine's heart and the Knight of Cups love was coming up as the summary of that. I don't know why, but the alchemy, this is relating to the energy of the feminine's heart and the Knight of Cups love, and perhaps the difference between their vibrations and memory fields. So we have the incoming divine feminine here, and I was just getting rowboats as well, rowing paddles. And a lot of fraternities will have like row paddles up. We have Boathouse Row on the Delaware in Philadelphia, and I'm just getting that energy of the 2 paddles up on the wall of the fraternities. The incoming divine feminine, the 9 of Wands, the 3 of Wands, and the 7 of Wands. And I was just getting the energy of Boathouse Row also at night. It's a very beautiful sight to behold because all of the boathouses are decorated with lights. It's really beautiful on the river. So showing me the energy of the Boathouse Row with the oars on the walls during the day with no lights, and then the energy at night of the feminine with all the lights on, that very high vibrational energy, the twinkling energy. So we have the incoming divine feminine of the 9 of Wands, 3 of Wands, and 7 of Wands, all fire again, very Atlantean energy of the divine feminine on fire. The wounded warrior present to the 3rd flame and rising above, the 1 leading the 4, and the twin bridges. This is the 2nd time twin bridges came up. And that came up in the cards as well. Was that yesterday or the day before? In one of the cards, there were twin bridges, and it was such a cool message yesterday. But anyway, the twin bridges are coming up here again as both the masculine and feminine on 2 different energy or timelines bridging from one side to the other, but it was actually showing me, bridging from the 3D over to the 5D in order to bridge back to an alternative 3D universe. It was very interesting the way it was coming up yesterday. Or the day before, whenever that was, I can't remember. So there's that memory issue. The 1 leading the 4 and the twin bridges, 2 7 flames, actually 8, 2 tangoing above the 6. So here comes in the numbers 1 and 4 together, being present to the 3rd flame, which is the 3 of Mother Gaia and the energy of abundance and the Empress. And then we have 1 leading 4, which is the 14 of the Temperance card, the higher love and the patient angel. And then the twin bridges to the 7 of flames, actually 8, which is then 78, which is the end of the tarot, the dream family, heaven on earth. And then the 2 actually tangoing above the 8, and above the 6 rather. And I just told you I was in bunk beds with my inner child this morning before the video. 2 tangoing above the 6, which is all about love, family, and community, but also the lovers. And then the 2-6 is the Page of Wands, which is inspiration. That energy of the young boy who's very inspired, perhaps to go out on a date or to something they love to do. So rising up in the heat wave, like the hot air balloon, being all. So then the balloon, when I said rising up in the heat wave like a hot air balloon, then balloon was being broken down as be all double O, which is the 8, right? Two O's on top of each other, like the bunk bed stacked on top, two humans, human embodiments of source, stacked on top of each other is the number 8. Be all double 8 EN, which is code Jesus for me. So one is more seen than the other. One bridge is apparent, and one in the midst of Avalon and Puff the magic dragon, above the Middle East, which is coming up as the UK, because the Puff was coming up as magenta a couple days ago. So, and of course, she talks about Avalon a lot, and then this is coming up above the Middle East in the cards. So one more seen than the other, one bridge, these are the twin bridges again, one more seen than the other, one bridge apparent, one in the midst of Avalon and Puff the Magic Dragon, so less seen, right, because it's a higher vibration, above the Middle East. And this is coming up in the mitosis. And again, the first guide I ever connected with in my 20s was mitos. And so here's mitosis, and mitos is myth, but mitosis is coming up as both myth and reality. Mitos is cells lined up on the side that's organized, and notice the organ in organized, and the other side having trouble aligning, right? Because one is very grounded and 3D, and one is very in the etheric realm, not apparent. But also notice that a parent is a parent as opposed to a child. So here we have one is the parent, one is the child, and that can be vice versa, switching back and forth. So then we have the 9 minus 2 of these wand energies for the feminine coming up as 7. 7 going, 1 or 2 cells lined up that are not apparent because, well, one of those 2 is not apparent. One of 2 cells lined up leading 6 others, or love, family, and community. So it's coming up like 7 is really the 8. It won't stay at 7 because 7 is the 11th hour. It's the 0 point. It's the calm before the storm. It goes into the 8 automatically, which is heaven on earth when you stay between the 7 and the 8. The energy of the 11th hour at 0 point. Spirit's connecting with me. The 7 to 8. 78. 7 to 8. Oh, 7 to 8. They're putting the twins in the middle of the 7 and the 8. That you are the, and that was coming up too with, I was giving you those triangles of magenta and April, or excuse me, Elizabeth April, and then the twin being the binding, right, the connecting, the mutable energy, as opposed to the cardinal and the fixed energies. And the same thing was coming up between Bonnie from A Spirit to Acceleration and Chris Macklin as healers, being the grounding and the etheric, and then the twins being the space between, the binding, the mutable, the go-between energy that can go into both. They're more flexible that way. And it's very interesting. It's coming back up in a different way today so that you can understand it. So we have the, so that came up from 78, 7 to 8. The 11th hour, the 2 of the twins between the 7 of the calm before the storm and the 8 of the power players, the creation, that's the manifestation. The 7 is the intention, and the 8 is the manifestation of the dreams, and the 2 of the twins between that. So again, the parent and one parent and one child also comes up in this relationship of polarity, and then the mitosis coming up as myth versus truth. Because mito is the myth or story in Greek, and then tosi, T-O-S-I, is actually Estonian, which I told you I was getting a meditation one day where there was a specific business at the harbor there that was harboring abused children. And I did pass on that information, not sure if it was used or not, but hopefully it did. Anyway, Estonia was coming up as an awful place regarding the abuse of the children. So anyway, Tosi is coming up, T-O-S-I, from mitosis as the truth or reality. So here we have the myth playing off of the reality, the real life serious side of our story, which was getting real about the children and the abuse of children. And then osis from mitosis is the ash tree. It's hate and dislike, right? Of the energy that comes up when you polarize like that between the story and the myth and the reality and what you see. And then the osis coming up between them, just like the 7 and the 8, as the ash tree of the twins rising from the ashes as the phoenix to transmute the hate and dislike of the polarities. And again, mitosis comes up as my toes is also is coming up as I, Sophia, right? The mother energy. In myth versus truth, in might, in hate, and the tree of ash. And what else was coming up? Oh, okay. All right. So before the twin cells, before the twin cells split, so listen very closely, this is coming up as mitosis. Before the twin cells split, they go through the interphase, okay? So I'm going to be describing to you the process of mitosis, or the cell splits. And listen to it in reference to your story. The period of growth of interphase before the actual 5 phases actually of the cell split. This would be a 6th phase because actually the preparation of the cell splitting. Going through the interphase before the twin cells split, the period of growth, which is about 90% of the normal cell cycle. Then part of that is the G1 phase, where you grow in mass or you get fattened up for the split, the first gap phase where you part. The S phase, which can be the Sophia phase, the DNA synthesis, or in other words, where Sophia considers sin, or grounding and integrating period. Then the G2 period of the second gap, the second separation of synthesizing proteins and continuing to increase mass or size. The nucleus bound by the nuclear envelope, and this references again the tarot card that I created of the envelope, where the square part of the envelope is the block, you get off track, and then you just get back on path by getting back onto the triangle or the flap of the envelope. And here it's coming up again because the nuclear is literally called the nuclear envelope. The nucleus is bound by the nuclear envelope, and the cell's chromosomes have duplicated but are in the form of chromatin at this point. So then, and this is all coming up from the process from thoughtco.com. The first phase is prophase, and of course that brings up being proactive. The chromatin condenses just like a computer file condenses so that you can send it. You make it smaller so that it can be sent in an easier way. The chromatone condenses into discrete chromosomes, like having that computer file. The envelope gets destroyed en route, right? Just like you mailed a letter and it got messed up. The postman dragged it through the rain and the snow and it got messed up. And 2 spindles then, or roadblocks, develop at the ends at either side and polarize and reach out to the equator, with chromosomes remembering to go back to center and 0 point. So again, you were forgetting your true self, which knows to go back to center point. But here's the chromosomes having polarized each other, as in the twins, looking out at the equator, at the horizon line, and then those chromosomes all of a sudden remembering, awakening with the sunrise and the sunset, remembering to go back to center point, remembering who you are, going within and connecting to your higher self. This is the prophase of the cell split and being proactive. And then we go to the metaphase, where the spinsters get old, right? We have the spindles at either end, which comes up with Gandhi as well, right? He's very known for the spinning wheel. So the spinsters here get old at the polarized ends here, and then the newbies come in and distance themselves from taking sides because they're new and fresh and they get themselves, right? They're staying at the center point and staying away from the polarized old spinsters who are at cross purposes, or in other words, perpendicular. Then we go to the anaphase, and ana is here here where the kids, or they're called daughters when the cells split, here are the kids, or the two daughters, equally taking over their elders' positions. Only through the spinster can they get to the poles and get even more polarized, getting ready to split. Then we go to the telo phase. And that always reminds me of communication, right? With telo and telephone. There, or here in this phase, they lengthen and the nuclei form, right? Because it's splitting. The neutral center. The envelope has now been recycled, because remember it fell apart in transition. It got wet and messed up, so it fell apart. It couldn't be used for that letter anymore, but they used the paper and recycled it. And now it can be used for the daughter's new envelopes, the new twins. The fibers uncoil and now relax, which was the image of my inner child in the meditation before the video today, where she just laid back on the bunk bed and put her arms behind her head. The fibers now uncoil and relax now. The worst is over for all intensive purposes in the telo phase. Then we get to the end of the actual split, the cytokinesis, or cell movement. The division of the assets, the cytoplasm, or in other words, plasm comes up as plasma and the pleasing of the mother. And here's someone saying, please, Ma, help me out a bit. I've just been through a split and I have no place to live. So two complete daughters, now independent, as the cell or the parents split. Okay? So we have and notice there's mitosis and meiosis, which is where the sexual cells split into 4 daughters into 2 instead of 2, with the 23 chromosomes only. So when they're fertilized, they become the 46 chromosomes. They've got the Midas touch, all right? So like the meiosis and the mitosis. They've got the Midas touch. So, and then they become 2 again, just like the other cells. So here we have the positive, right? So you need to self-advocate for yourself. Going into boundaries, the eye, the cone, the pyramid, the fury, and the turning point, right? When you get, this came up yesterday too as well. The fury is the power within you. And this was a perfect example of this. So you're harnessing your power, your energy, but it's not through anger, but it's the same type of energy in a way as anger. And you have to understand the subtle difference between this. And the perfect example is when I was in Arizona, and I was walking through campus one day, and we'd have these huge windstorms, and the tumbleweeds would go tumbling across the path. But I just remember feeling the empowerment of the universe as the wind was blowing so hard and the tumbleweeds were going by, and you're just walking across and you are one with the universe. That is the feeling of the empowerment, the power that they want you to understand, the turning point where, let's say you're in a relationship where someone's being abusive to you or using you or taking advantage of you, and all of a sudden you get angry and you turn away. All of a sudden you explode and you empower yourself. It's the same type of energy, but not anger towards the person. It's the I'm not putting up with this anymore, and all of a sudden empowering yourself to walk away, not to beat somebody up. It's like the opposite of that. It's the turning point where you turn away. You're no longer going to allow someone to use, abuse, neglect, or whatever. You're empowering yourself, and you become filled with the energy of the world. And then we go into the new axis of the cave or the tree, and this is referencing the masculine or the feminine, the cave or the tree. The new axis, to be the child or fundamental, to discern and believe. Then going into the cycle of the body, the sheets, and the love hotel. And then the cell movement when prompted by another, which is that final split of cytokinesis. When prompted by another energy, the movement of the cell. So the 4D here is the 4 of Pentacles, the wheel, and transition. The divine feminine in the divine masculine's heart in the crystal bat cave. Remember, that's the new axis of the 4D cave. And they definitely brought up the new access as being the perspective of a fourth dimension being added. That's literally the definition. So here's the new access of the 4D cave, heating up the crystals, exciting, energizing, exciting the diamond light, speeding up the light. The divine masculine transition to the tello phase, ringing up using recycled heart in the love hotel. Bridging with the great wheel, or in other words, the great wheel broken down, meaning to be, to eat. A timeline without Jesus in energetic exchange with El, or the Elohim, or vertical pillar. The divine timing, destiny, fatum, God's proclamation to his dog, to speak. Right? What does the master tell his dog? To speak. This is God telling us humans, the ones he loves like his dog, that he would never hurt in a million years, to speak your truth. An atom divided and rainbow bridge complete, coming full circle back to the nucleus, back to center point, 0 point, in the 3-ring circus or planes of existence, mine, yours, and ours. And it's the vibration making you want to cry. It's very beautiful and high. Ours to mine, your man nurse. Ours to mind your manners is coming up here. Ours to mine, your man nurse. Digging for gold and diamonds. Adam on Eve of cytokinesis, the 11th hour of twin pillars of light. I was just getting down on their kneesus. There's a proposal somewhere here. We have the 253 of the High Priestess and the 53 of the Knight of Swords. The Divine Feminine in the Divine Masculine's heart. The Divine Masculine in the Divine Feminine's portal. Bridged by 3 axes and planes. And the new moon coming up here on 5/11, which is Taurus, 21 degrees 17. And in my time zone, it's happening at 2:59, again, the 11th hour before 3 o'clock. And isn't that time, the 3 o'clock, isn't that Jesus, the Jesus time of the execution? Yeah, there's that just came up for me. I'm not well versed in that kind of stuff, but that's coming up. 3 axes and planes. The 3-ring circus within the 1 rainbow ring, with foot in mouth, like the snake with its tail in its mouth, the circle. 1 rainbow ring with foot in mouth, the mountain in this, I'm just getting, and mouse and cat, right? Cat and mouse game. The 3-ring circus within the 1 rainbow ring with foot in mouth, or cat and mouse, the mountain in the center, the vortex, not budging, living 3 planes of existence at once, and once coming up as 1 seal. And at 2:56, when I was writing this, there was a plane overhead as I'm talking about the 3 planes of existence at 2:56, which is the 2 of the High Priestess and the 56 of the 2 of Swords being your knowing. All right, 2 2s. The hermetic seal, the airtight container. No outside contaminants and or interference, and I wasn't getting this before, but now I am. It's this, the connection between the masculine and feminine. It's sealed airtight. Nobody can interrupt their connection. The divine masculine's heart in transition. Why did the chicken cross the road? To get on path with the flowers of life. Adam and Eve of great exploration, of atomic proportion. A need to call timeouts in connection to realign energies and balancing act between them. The 5D here coming up as Luna, the 7 of Pentacles, and the Ace of Swords, the truth. The Divine Feminine sliding in to the new moon, and home base, 5/11, the moment before 3 p.m., the 11th hour, 2:59. So tell me exactly, was that when Jesus was crucified, or what was the timeline of 3 p.m.? Because I know that that was a significant time. If you could let me know in the comments below. 307 is the Empress and the 7 of the Chariot, right? See, the Empress is Gaia. The Chariot is the vehicle of ascension because she's ascending as well. The 11th hour at 2:59 at the new moon, 5:11. The Divine Masculine Dolphin, ready to play, with emerald and magenta buoy, which also comes up as boy, bringing you 0 point path, bringing your best game, bridging with the Divine Feminine's heart in the E Tower that's open to visitors and on dry land, which is the masculine's territory. She just coming off the high tide, and he in calm, clear waters, now on her territory. The 6D here, the sixth dimension, which then the water goes into plasma energy, the 3 of Pentacles, the 8 of Cups, and the 10 of Wands here, the Divine Feminine with Trinity, Tri, Ni, Tai, Tri, show of power and gratitude, triangle. Try that show of power and gratitude. Try that show of power, right? Powering up, which I just described to you, and gratitude. In co-creations, manifesting a new timeline, forgiveness to be on, for business to be on. Ah, that came up 2 ways. Very cool. So again, the triangle of trying to show your power and gratitude in the co-creations of manifesting your new timelines for business to be on, but also forgiveness to be on. The Divine Masculine up from the cave, she in the tree or the family tree, bridging between at 0 point, walking away and within from emotional attachments, which EAs is also Elizabeth April, which is coming up, that emotional attachments that no longer serve, Batman grounded, but all ducks now in a row. So Batman grounded here was coming up as they were grounded because they got in trouble, but now all their ducks are in a row. The Divine Feminine's coming up here as the 4D grounding with the Divine Masculine, the 5D at the new moon sliding into the Divine Feminine's home base of the 6D co-creation, the Divine Masculine with the Divine Feminine transition through the portal on each other's sides, the 5D playing ball with the truth coming up, and the moon is just a satellite. So you should be, it's just a satellite with fluorescence glow to glow. So you should be able to toss it pretty easily over the E Tower or over the rainbow I was just getting, undisturbed by the waterways, and the Divine Masculine coming up out of the dungeons with flame in hand, leaving the wounded warrior behind with light up ahead. Okay? And there's something up coming up about the barge in the Suez Canal as well here. So I'm going to read this again because there's an important energy about that coming up here somewhere. So if anything comes up for you, please comment below. The Divine Feminine transition through the portal on each other's sides, masculine on the feminine side, feminine on the masculine side, in the 5D, heaven on earth, playing ball with the truth coming up. And remember, the 5D has been coming up for me as the articulation place, the binder of the book. The 5D, like the twins, once you're in 5D, you then have access to all the other upper realms. So it's not, the 5D is just the access point. The 4D is the bridge, the 5D is the access point to those other dimensions. So it's really coming up always as the twins together in the 6D, which is the instant manifestation energy. So on each other's sides, the 5D playing ball with the truth coming up, the moon, which is just a satellite with fluorescence to glow. Oh, and that's coming up as, Luciferase, because Lucifer, somebody was just talking about, I think Sam the Illusionist did a video yesterday about the reptilians on Mars getting the Luciferians to come back into our universe to help them. So here is that Lucifer energy coming back up. The moon just a satellite with fluorescence to glow, and the fluorescence is the Luciferase that Bill Gates wanted to put in the vaccine to make you light up so you'd know you'd been vaccinated. Okay, because that's the fluorescent. The Luciferase is from the lightning bug glow, but it's made from, it's not C. diff, but it's, what's the other thing? It's a, a source of infection. It's like the Luciferase comes from I looked up the ingredients of it, and it's coming up from like an infectious place, like C. diff or something. But it wasn't C. diff, it was the other thing. I'm always confusing the two. So this energy of the Luciferase and the Luciferians coming in to help the reptilians on Mars. And again, don't forget that Lucifer, the word actually means light. So remember the positive aspect. You can transmute the energies of the name Lucifer into the light. The satellite. You can't make this up, all right? So, and also sitting came up in this read coming up as well. So here's the satellite of sat and a light. The fluorescence to glow of Luciferase. So you should be able to toss it pretty easily since the moon's empty, right? Over the E tower undisturbed by the waterways. So it's like the E tower is like an island unto itself, right? With the waterways on either side, like an island. And being able to toss it over the island without disturbing it because it's light, like a ball, just playing ball. And the divine masculine, it's coming up like I always talk about kickball in elementary school. How much fun it is to sink your foot into that kickball. It's the most fun ball to play with. It's that energy coming up. It's so much fun to kick this ball because it'll really go far and distant. There's a lot of power behind it, and yet it's light enough to kick and throw. And I don't know if they're talking about the moon or Mars now, but the divine masculine is coming up out of the dungeon with flame in hand, leaving the wounded warrior behind with the light up ahead. All right, so here's coming up the light, which is the Lucifer. The bridge here, this is very significant. The bridge being destiny to hang out at the 5DE tower and go to the beach when needed. So again, this is coming up when you need a break from each other. You go to the beach or you take a break, right? Go to the water or where the water meets the land. The destiny to hang out at the E tower, the 5DE tower, which is also, again, like I said, it's like the meeting point to go into the other realms, and then go to the beach when needed, where the land meets the sea. So you can always go back to 5D when you want to go to like a neutral point. The outgoing divine masculine here is karma. The outgoing divine masculine is karma, the page of swords and the page of cups, which can be messages or children energies. The lotus plasma. So again, the lotus of the opening of the crown, and the plasma, which is also coming up as the please Ma, right? Ma is Gaia, to please the mother, to open up the crown. The karmic flowering with the page of swords and the page of cups, the innocence. So this can be about the abused children as well. Helping them by transmuting the energies of the word Lucifer to transmuting it into the word light, which is what it means actually in its positive aspect. Helping to open up the crowns of the innocent children so that they're not afraid to connect with their higher selves, right? Because there can be interference. When you're a twin, there's no interference between each other. They can't block that connection. The page of swords and the page of cups, where one likes to find and the other likes to seek with open heart, right? One's more intellectually oriented, the other one's more heart-minded. Up from the cave to make a splash. The page of cups open to the knight of cups, swimming the vortex about to close. Again, to seal it up, that's the union. The nymph and the imp surfing the wave together. Guys, they're talking about union here. The divine feminine here is coming up with Sagittarius and Cancer energy, along with the wounded warrior in the divine masculine's heart, and the divine masculine leaving the wounded warrior behind. The divine masculine coming up here is Scorpio and Aquarius in their energies right now, with the page of swords, page of cups, and the knight of cups. So there could be a lot of kids around them right now, or a lot of messages. Spreading the word of love. The number that this union read came up is 52, and it's 4931 on the clock, which is the get your wish of the 31 of expansion, of the 5 of wands at play. the pursuit of happiness and the impossible dream, and it's 12:04 on the clock, which is the hangman, at 4, which is the emperor, right? Because we were just talking about 3 o'clock in Christ. 12 is Christ hanging on the cross at 3 o'clock, and it just switched to 4, which my first is the 3 and the 4, the Empress and the Emperor, but it's the first time I met my twin. We had appointments, my daughter and I, at 3 and 4. There's that same energy coming up because it's linking it to the twin. The 52 of the Queen of Swords is the Queen of Swords, right, is the messenger of truth, right, speaking her truth. And she's also the war widow. Remember, the masculine is now leaving the wounded warrior behind, and the Queen of Swords is the war widow. So when you take the war out of the war widow, it just makes the Queen of Swords now with the light. She's the woman of light, which we were just talking about. She is the Lucifer, the light. The Lucy in the sky with diamonds is coming up here. Lucy with the diamond light. Lou sees the light. How beautiful is this, you guys? This is amazing. The Queen of Swords. Wow. So the wounded warrior leaves, so it's the Atlas energy of the 10 of Wands leaving the 9 of Wands, the wounded warrior, behind, as the Queen of Wands becomes the Lucifer. She becomes the Lu seeing the light without the war. And then the horizontal pillars are coming up as the World, the Strength, and the King of Wands, the 21, the 8, and the 23. The vertical pillars coming up as 9, 3, 7, 7, 15, and 11, both adding up to the 52. And this is the Hermit, the Empress, the 2 Chariots, the Devil and the Justice, or the Hermit and the King of Cups with 1 Chariot, the Devil and Justice. And the message coming up here as completion of the dance of the King of Wands and the Queen of Swords, right? The King of Wands is the man of passion, leaving the wounded warrior behind, which the King of Wands is the shaman in this deck. He's transmuting the warrior of fire to the shaman of fire. And the Queen of Swords is transmuting the Lucifer of the widow to the light, the Lucy in the sky with diamonds, Lu seeing the light. This is so profound, you guys. So we have completing in the dance of the King of Wands and the Queen of Swords, the Hermit with the Empress and 2 cars perhaps, or the Hermit with the King of Cups, which is unconditional love, and 1 vehicle, tempted by justice here, which is truth and balance in the end, that there's justice after all. And that came up as the last card yesterday, and there is justice in the land. It's making me want to cry, guys. The energy is so high. Again, the Hermit and the Empress, and remember that Empress is Gaia, and the Hermit is the sun when it's not being seen, right? The masculine when it's not being seen, the Empress when it's all aglow, and the 2 cars or the vehicles of ascension now becoming the Hermit with unconditional love in 1 car between them, tempted by truth and balance and justice for all. Wow, you guys. Wow, wow, wow. That's all I can say. Wow. Wow. I'm actually going to have to stop this here and start the twin flame videos separately, just so this isn't so long for everybody. It's so significant. I'm going to start this and start right back up again, okay? Rise and be love, and we'll be right back here. I have to take a breath for a minute. Hold on. Take a breath. Okay, guys. Rise and be love. I'll be there in a minute. Bye.